This case presents significant challenges in its coverage, yet it remains a crucial topic for discussion. Alexis Rasmussen epitomized the typical teenage girl. Born in January 1995, she was merely 16 years old at the time of the crime in 2011. Alexis appeared to be enthusiastic about her future prospects. Her interests included reading, dancing, and shopping, but above all, she cherished spending time with her friends. Alexis enjoyed a robust support network of peers with whom she could share her thoughts and feelings. However, her life was not without its difficulties. Details regarding Alexis' home environment and her relationship with her parents are scarce. It is known that she had a brother whom she adored. Their interactions often involved playful disputes typical of sibling dynamics, rarely escalating beyond lighthearted rivalry. Alexis was aware that her family cared for her deeply and that she could rely on many of her relatives in times of need. Tragically, Alexis was grappling with personal struggles that her parents remained unaware of. While she projected the image of a carefree teenager with boundless opportunities, she concealed profound secrets that were far beyond what one might expect from a young person. In the spring of 2011, Alexis encountered Dia and Eric Millerberg. Seeking to earn some extra money for her shopping outings with friends, Alexis believed that babysitting would be an ideal solution. Thus, when she learned that the Millerbergs required occasional childcare, she eagerly seized the opportunity. The Millerbergs quickly formed a close friendship with Alexis, drawn to her vibrant and engaging personality, while they appeared to be genuinely good people. However, Alexis would soon discover that the dynamics within the Millerberg family were far more complex than she had anticipated. Compounding the situation was Alexis's admiration for the couple. Although Alexis had loving parents who provided her with unwavering support, like many teenagers, she sought role models outside her family. This period of adolescence is characterized by a quest for personal identity, often leading young individuals to look for inspiration beyond their parental figures. Eager to immerse herself in the Millerbergs' world, Alexis felt she had finally found a community where she belonged, a space that allowed her to explore her identity and transition into adulthood. Her respect for the Millerberg family prompted her to spend increasing amounts of time with them. What began as a straightforward babysitting job soon escalated into a situation far beyond Alexis's expectations, and certainly beyond what her parents were aware of. Despite her admiration for the Millerbergs, it became evident that Eric and Dia were not the exemplary figures she believed them to be. In fact, they revealed themselves to be among the most troubling individuals discussed in true crime stories, a significant statement given the nature of those narratives. Over a mere 6 months, Eric and Dee transformed the once vibrant 16-year-old Alexis into a mere shadow of her former self. She became nearly unrecognizable to her friends, losing her sense of identity and purpose, ultimately ensnared in an addiction that many struggle to overcome. The point of no return. Before proceeding further, it is essential to clarify that the sequence of events and the particulars of this case are derived solely from the accounts provided by the perpetrators, rather than the victim or her family. The family of Alexis has remained largely reticent regarding this matter, which is entirely understandable. They are grappling with a profound loss that many cannot truly comprehend, and it is reasonable for them to seek privacy during such a difficult time. Regrettably, this lack of communication results in limited clarity on certain elements of the case, compelling us to rely primarily on the statements of the Millerbergs. If anyone in the audience has connections to Alexis' family or resides in the vicinity where these events transpired, please feel free to provide any corrections or additional information in the comments below. According to the Millerbergs, after Alexis had babysat for their family several times, their relationship began to develop. Rather than solely visiting to babysit, Alexis started coming over simply to spend time with the family. It was during one of these visits that the Millerbergs offered her alcohol. It is important to note that Alexis was only 16 years old, while the legal drinking age in the United States is 21. Although it is well known that teenagers often encounter alcohol at a younger age, the Millerbergs explicitly provided it to Alexis on a regular basis, leading her to perceive their home as a refuge from the constraints of her daily life. It was an environment where she could relax and express her true self without the fear of judgment from those around her. While many might be able to overlook the presence of alcohol, the Millerbergs quickly escalated the situation. They not only supplied her with alcoholic beverages, but soon introduced her to far more potent substances. These were the kinds of drugs from which recovery is often elusive. I am not referring to the common varieties that one might find cultivated in a relative's backyard. Rather, I mean the dangerous substances that one hears about in connection with tragic incidents in rundown neighborhoods. The Millerbergs effectively transformed Alexis into an addict functioning, yet still an addict. As her life progressed, Alexis began to accept these substances as payment instead of requesting cash from the couple. These mind-altering experiences diminished the once innocent teenage girl, reducing her to a mere shadow of her former self, and the situation continued to deteriorate in ways that are difficult to fathom. I must tread carefully in articulating the following point, as it is not something most would wish to confront, yet it is crucial for accurately depicting Eric and Dee. It is widely understood that in a marriage, certain elements of the relationship are typically kept private. In the Millerberg residence, the atmosphere was one of openness, welcoming anyone who wished to join. Participation was often encouraged, and Alexis was a frequent presence in this environment. To label this situation as disturbing would undermine the experiences of children everywhere. The circumstances described are profoundly troubling, and it is difficult to comprehend the extent of dysfunction that would lead an individual to engage in such actions. However, the most alarming events were still to unfold. On September 10, 2011, Alexis received an invitation to the Millerberg home, as the couple intended to go shopping for their daughter's birthday. Yet, upon her arrival, the plans took an unexpected turn. The anticipated babysitting and shopping did not materialize. Shortly after Alexis entered the house, Eric presented her with a mixed cocktail of substances, administering at least 3 injections within a brief period. It is important to note that even a single injection would have been excessive for a full-sized adult, and Alexis, being a small teenager, was particularly vulnerable. Eric and Alexis retreated to the bedroom for some privacy away from Dee, but it was not long before Alexis began to experience a significant shift in her mental state. What initially felt like an exhilarating experience quickly transformed into a harrowing ordeal. Her thoughts spiraled out of control, and Dee reported that Alexis began to panic. Soon, she felt utterly disoriented and extremely cold. The blankets and sheets provided were insufficient, prompting her to request a hot bath in hopes of warming herself. After approximately 45 minutes, Dee entered the room to check on her and discovered that she remained cold. Dee assisted her in exiting the bath and enveloped her in a blanket, guiding her to lie down in a different bedroom. The couple believed she would recover on her own, but her condition only worsened, and she continued to grow colder, leaving the Millerbergs feeling helpless. Shortly thereafter, Eric and Dee stepped outside for a cigarette break. Upon returning about 30 minutes later, they found Alexis completely unresponsive. Dee was the only individual who made any effort to assist her. Upon realizing that Alexis was not breathing, she attempted to perform CPR, but her efforts were in vain. The most logical action in this situation would have been to call 911 for assistance. However, neither Dee nor Eric took that step. Dee later expressed that her initial concern was the potential loss of their children, fearing that their lives would be irrevocably altered. Feeling hopeless about Alexis's condition, they refrained from contacting anyone for help. What is particularly noteworthy about this decision is that Dee is a registered nurse, and the use of Narcan would have been a clear option. Narcan can be administered in cases of overdose, and often has the potential to revive individuals in critical situations. I have personally witnessed its remarkable effectiveness. Most ambulances carry it for emergencies like this, so a simple call to 911 would likely have saved Alexis's life. The Millerbergs, however, were unwilling to take any action to save Alexis. Instead, they allowed her to perish, cold, isolated, and filled with fear. Subsequent police investigations revealed that Eric was on parole for a previous burglary and firearm offense at the time of the incident. He was also identified as a member of a prison gang. Dee, conversely, had pending court appearances due to her arrest for writing fraudulent prescriptions and charges related to child endangerment. The couple, who initially appeared to be respectable figures in Alexis's eyes, quickly revealed themselves to be little more than criminals. Confronted with the belief that they had no other options, they chose to place Alexis into a footlocker, which they later transported to the trunk of their vehicle. They then departed from their residence, leaving their 6-year-old daughter unattended for several hours. Fortunately, they took their toddler with them. While it may seem fortunate, the reality was that the couple was driving erratically, under the influence, with a small child in the back seat and a deceased body in the trunk. The situation was far from fortunate, perhaps thankfully is not the most appropriate term to describe it, but at least the child was not left alone, though he might have been better off that way. Eventually, they arrived at a secluded area in the woods, where they removed Alexis from the footlocker and discarded her body face down in the dirt. They then obscured her remains with sticks, leaves, and dirt to prevent detection by passersby. Following this, the couple disposed of Alexis's purse in a dumpster. They subsequently traveled to another dumpster, where they removed the carpet from their vehicle and disposed of it in an effort to eliminate any potential evidence that might remain. Afterward, they returned home and behaved as if the entire incident had never occurred. Alexis, Rasmussen, missing following the couple's involvement in one of the most heinous crimes imaginable, they continued with their lives. In stark contrast, the Rasmussen family was experiencing turmoil from all sides. Alexis' parents anxiously awaited her return that day, but she never came home. It was not long before she was reported missing to the authorities, yet there was no sign of her anywhere. It remains unclear whether her parents were aware that she was scheduled to babysit for the Millerberg family that day, as reports do not clarify the extent of the police search efforts. However, it is reasonable to assume that her parents were unaware of these plans, despite her intention to be out for several hours. What is known is that Alexis had previously run away from home at least once, leading the family to believe she might be staying with friends. No one could have anticipated the tragic events that unfolded unbeknownst to the family. The reality is that the police may never have uncovered the truth, if not for one individual, Eric Smith, also known as Peanut. According to law enforcement, they were completely unaware that Alexis was in danger or that she had become involved with a dangerous group. Peanut was affiliated with the same prison gang as Eric Millerberg, and there are differing narratives regarding how Peanut became entangled in the crime. One account suggests that Peanut was present with Eric and Dia when they disposed of the evidence, while another indicates that he was merely informed about the crime after it had occurred. Regardless, after Alexis had been missing for over a month, the weight of the crime began to burden Peanut significantly. He was acutely aware of the desperation felt by Alexis' family. When he ultimately decided to come forward, he expressed to the police his desire to disclose the circumstances surrounding Alexis' disappearance in order to provide some solace to her family. His sole condition was to receive immunity for having concealed the crime for such an extended period, a request to which the police acquiesced. Upon being questioned about his sudden willingness to cooperate, Peanut offered a poignant explanation. "I also have a 16-year-old daughter." He fully disclosed to the police every detail he had learned about the case, and even volunteered to guide them to the location where the evidence had been discarded. During the journey to the wooded area, he led the officers directly to the spot where Alexis had been left, thereby bringing a measure of closure to the investigation. However, for the Rasmussen family, the ordeal was only beginning. Law enforcement swiftly located the Millerbergs, apprehending them and initiating legal proceedings. The trial took an unexpected turn when Dia, upon being questioned about the events of that day, expressed her willingness to divulge all pertinent information, provided she received protection from her husband during the trial and a reduced sentence in return for her cooperation. Her husband, conversely, remained silent, refusing to speak to investigators or detectives. Dia subsequently turned away from Eric and recounted every detail of their relationship with Alexis, as well as the events that unfolded on that tragic September day. In return for her cooperation, Dia received a mere 5-year prison sentence. Eric, however, faced a more severe outcome. While one might assume he was sentenced to life in prison, that was not the case. He was convicted of 3 significant offenses: homicide, obstruction of justice, and a charge related to his involvement with Alexis while she was still a minor. Although Alexis had technically consented, her state at the time raises serious questions about the validity of that consent. The penalties for these charges vary, with one carrying a sentence of 1 to 15 years, another up to 5 years, and the final charge ranging from 5 years to life imprisonment. The troubling aspect is that Eric will be eligible for parole in 2046. Although this may appear distant, it is not an adequate punishment for his actions, and a mere 5 years is certainly insufficient for Dia as well. In fact, Dia has already been released and is now a free individual. In stark contrast, the Rasmussen family will never experience true freedom. Nothing can restore Alexis to them, nor can anything compensate for the horrific crimes committed by Eric and Dia. Alexis had a promising and vibrant future ahead.